WallStreetOnParade.com. I think we see the real numbers of how much this reverse repo garbage nonsense the Fed, the sick amount of money the Fed has pumped into these Wall Street banks. Federal Reserve admits it pumped more than $6 trillion dollars to Wall Street in a recent 6-week period. Can I just remind you that about 18 years ago, 2000, 2001, I think our debt in the entire country was $3 trillion bucks. It was around, I think it was around 3 trillion, somewhere around there. What if I could find that? U.S. National deficit by year. Just see if this guy, I want to be accurate. If I can, clickety click. $1980. No, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not even the right one. National debt. 2005 public debt. Yeah, and it's basically the 2018. By 2005, it shows it was about 7,800. 7,800 or 7.8 trillion, excuse me, not 7,800 dollars, 7.8. That was 2005. And there's public debt, and then there's intergovernmental holdings. Let me just pause this for a second. Okay, I think I found what I'm looking for. The reason I did that because I was like, was it 3 trillion or 6 trillion? Because I thought when Bush left office, I just couldn't remember. So it looks like it was more like in the year 2000, closer to 6 trillion, 5.6 trillion, 5.8 trillion by 2001, 6.2 trillion by 2002. So I want you to just think of that number. That's our country, national debt. The Federal Reserve just put out what our entire national debt used to be in 2002, 2003. It just did that from September to right now. Is there not a major problem with this? If the Federal Reserve was looking for a media blackout lockdown on news about the trillions of dollars in cumulative repo loans it has funneled quietly to Wall Street's trading houses since September 17th of last year, 2019, it could not have found a better cloud cover than Donald Trump. First, the impeachment proceedings bumped the Fed's money spigot from newspaper headlines. Impeachment's more important. Then the past Friday, as the Fed released its December meeting minutes at 2 p.m. with its highly anticipated plans to be announced for the future of this vast money giveaway to Wall Street, that news was ignored as the media scrambled to cover Trump's termination of General Qasem Soleimani, the head of Iran's Quds forces, which raised the immediate specter of a retaliatory strike against the U.S. by Iran. The Fed's minutes revealed that after multiple expansions of this vast money spigot, which was previously set to lapse in January, after getting the Wall Street trading houses through the year-end money crunch, instead it may be extending through April now. Remember, it's just September, October, in November, in December, rest of the year, yeah, but then in January we're going to stop. Nope, January kept going, and now might be extended through April. The minutes read as follows. The manager also discussed expectations to gradually transition away from active repo operations next year, meaning 2020, as Treasury bill purchases supply a larger base of reserves. The calendar of repo operations starting in mid-January could reflect a gradual reduction in active repo operations. Could reflect, maybe. It might, but it might not. The manager indicated that some repos might be needed at least through April. when tax payments will sharply reduce reserve levels. Oh, blame it on the taxpayer. Oh, these damn taxpayers, they want their money back. Yeah, we want our extortion fees back, part of our extortion fees from paying the IRS. Corporate and individual tax payments occur every April. The Fed offers no explanation as to why this April is different and requires a multi-trillion-dollar open money spigot from the Fed. The Fed's minutes also acknowledge that its most recent actions have tallied up to roughly $215 billion per day. Per day! Flowing to trading houses on Wall Street. There were 29 business days between the last FOMC meeting and the latest Fed minutes, meaning that approximately $6.23 trillion in cumulative loans to Wall Street's trading houses had been made in that short span of time. During the 2007 to 2010 financial collapse on Wall Street, the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, the Fed funneled a total of $29 trillion in cumulative loans to Wall Street banks, their trading houses, and their foreign derivative counterparties between December 2007 and July 21st, 2010. At the pace it is currently going, it would eclipse that $29 trillion before the middle of this year. And yet, there is no discernible financial collapse, according to the Wall Street Journal, in Wall Street itself. In fact, the Dow Jones Industrial Average and Standard & Poor's, or S&P 500 index, achieved multiple record highs in the month of December 2019, making it appear that the Fed's money to these trading houses is going straight into the stock market. That is about as far from the Federal Reserve's monetary policy mandate as it can get. And yet there has been no editorial outcry from the editorial boards of American newspapers or any publicly announced congressional investigation. Congress hasn't even mentioned anything about the Fed, the spending, the budget. They passed that damn budget so fast, handed it over to Donald Trump, and he signed it so fast, it'd make your head spin. You can't even shake a stick at it, much less lick it. The minutes go on to explain that Logan is also the senior New York Fed representative on several public-private committees, which work with these same Wall Street trading houses to establish best practices. One of those public-private committees on which Logan sits is the Foreign Exchange Committee. In 2015, that committee was chaired by Troy Roybal of J.P. Morgan Chase, its head of foreign exchange. In 2015, the New York Fed allowed Roybal to travel to Tokyo as part of its team to discuss global best practices in forex trading with teams from other central banks. On May 20th, 2015, J.P. Morgan Chase admitted to one criminal felony count with the U.S. Department of Justice, acknowledging that it had engaged with other banks in rigging the forex market. So much for public-private committees at the New York Fed establishing best practices. Oh, they've got their best practices. And you and I don't get any part of it. The only part you actually get is paying into it through your hard-earned tax dollars, which I've already said ad nauseum, can't even make a dent in the national debt, the money we owe. We're paying nearly $400 billion right now per year in taxes, the IRS's, our government, to people that own these so-called treasury bills, these bonds, these T-bills. Why would we ever create a system where we can allow someone else to tell us basically how and when we can print our money, and we get to borrow it? We don't get to just print our own money. We get to borrow it. And they somehow have money, and they get the interest on this. Where would they get the money from to buy our T-bills from so that they can then make the interest on our T-bills? Where did that money come from? I think anybody with half a brain cell in their head is going to start easily noticing these numbers are so outrageous. They don't make sense. Yet this money exists somehow. Interest and debts and for GDP and all this nonsense is nothing but nonsense. And the final thing you're going to say, and it's going to aggravate you, why in the hell have I been paying taxes? We can't even make a dent in this. It's phony money They make it up out of nothing, thin air. They give it to the banks, and again with the repo. Well, our mandates. The Fed says we can't just borrow direct. We can't go right to directly to Treasury and buy these T-bills. That's against your mandate, right? Well, yeah, to be illegal. So how are you guys doing it anyways? Because it looks like you're still doing it. Well, we have a third party. Those same banks I just told you about. They buy them from the Treasury. They sit on them for 3 days. Yes, 3 days. We then buy them from them. And we pay them a little bit of interest for doing so, a little bonus. Millions of dollars, as a matter of fact, they get in fees. Or interest, or whatever you want to call it, fees. Friends, we're doing this wrong. We are all in the wrong business. We should have started a bank. Except, I got news for you. Your bank wouldn't have made it. Your bank wouldn't have made it through 2008. You would have been one of the ones that failed because you wouldn't have been too big to fail. You'd have been gobbled up by JP Morgan Chase, as a matter of fact. And they would then have all your accounts, all your clients. And now they're even bigger than they were before, which means they're way too big to fail now. Which is why the Fed, we just step in. We're not asking Congress for nothing. We're just going to do this reverse repo thing. We'll just make up a name. Reverse disco. Reverse disco. Those banks are staying alive while you are trying to scramble. Well, how am I going to pay the bills? My job, I haven't got a raise in a while. The house prices are up again. Rent's up again. Food's up again. It's a big effing club, as George Carlin once said, and you ain't in it. Boy, oh boy, was Mr. Carlin right about that. Take care.